Evan and Tiki here on the Fan on this Tuesday in the middle of October. And while it's the middle of October and the Yankee season just finished and the Mets season's been finished for 2 weeks, the Jets season's been dead for a long time. They're like the carcass on the middle of the road. But over the last few days, we had the circus come to town because not only do the Jets find a creative and new way to stick it to their fans on a Sunday morning, we saw Aaron Glenn pull off some unspeakable decisions in the midst of that loss. And then, after the game, he felt bad for our next guest. He felt bad for Brian Costello because I think Aaron Glenn knew, boy, Brian hasn't been beaten up by Joe Beningo in a long time. So he's like, you know what? If Joe hasn't beat him up in a long time, I'll beat him up by lecturing him and saying, what kind of question is that? Even though the question was completely legitimate. So Brian Costello, great writer of the New York Post, longtime cover of the New York Jets. Who tries to abuse you more, in your opinion? Joe Beningo back in the day or Aaron Glenn?
Oh, absolutely Beningo, Evan. Beningo's for sure. I actually am glad I'm not speaking to Beningo these days.
Bro, this team sucks!
Yeah, he'd be yelling at me, and I'd have to be trying to find, I always ended up feeling like I was defending the Jets talking to him when there is no defense right now.
There is no defense right now. And let's start there. What has shocked you the most about the Jets' ineptitude in 2025?
Just the way they're losing. I didn't think they were going to be good this year, but I thought of a 500 team. I picked them to go 8-9, I think. So, and I thought there'd be some early struggles, and the offense might have some things to work out with a new play caller, a new quarterback, that kind of stuff. But I didn't think they'd look this bad. And, it's been the defense looking bad, and then the offense, they're taking turns. The offense looks terrible this week. The turnovers and penalties in other games, just finding ways to lose games. It's just looked way worse than I expected it to.
Yeah, and what is the feel in the locker room like? It's hard, I know, when you're winless at this point in the season to be optimistic. I know some guys were trying to, but that felt like it faded last week.
Yeah, it's not good, Tiki. Yeah, I think, last week was weird because they were in London. It was a little bit of a different feel, but the game after the game Sunday it felt bad. Like it was a bad locker room. There was guys that were pissed off. I think there was guys questioning what the hell happened at the end of the first half. Mm-hmm. There was questioning what happened at the end of the game. I think it didn't feel good. The vibe was not good after the game Sunday. And the other part of this is it's just some of these guys have been through this so many times now that there's this feeling around the Jets of, here we go again. And it's just they know nothing but losing. So in my head, almost like when they go into this offseason and they're looking at free agency, like obviously you're looking at the regular things of getting faster players, stronger players, better players, but they also need some dudes that have won in the NFL to just kind of come in the locker room and be like, hey, this is the way. And like LaDainian Tomlinson was that guy way back when, and they've had some other guys that did that. But to me, that's Aaron Glenn needs that in the locker room. He needs some guys that are going to reinforce his message and guys that have a resume that they can do it with. The problem for the Jets right now is I just don't think they have anyone in the locker room that can do that. The good players haven't won.
Yeah. And in relation to the locker room, I know it's very difficult for all of us to try to interpret what an Instagram post means or what a tweet means, but when Breece Hall says, they want me to lay down, but I got something to stand for, #free20, it's tough to not take that as someone that wants out and is pissed off. Do you get the vibe that Breece Hall is annoyed with the coaching staff or whomever at this point?
These social media posts are very tough to interpret, Evan. Sometimes they mean nothing. Sometimes they mean everything. And we talked to Breece on Friday in England, and he was asked about the trade rumors and said he wants to be here. Breece sometimes has some fun. I think he likes to troll a little bit. So I'm not sure what that was. I still think he wants to be here. But I don't know. I don't know what that message was. And guys, just some breaking news for you, not really about this team, but Nick Mangold announced that he needs a kidney. He's reaching out to see if there's any kidney donors out there for him. So
that's right.
I'm sure you can find more information about that. He just released it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's sad to hear. Hope prayers and thoughts to him because Nick's a good dude.
Absolutely.
Really good guy. He's a good dude.
Great dude indeed. We're talking to Brian Costello about the Jets and everything going on with this franchise. Why do you believe Aaron Glenn is so loyal to Justin Fields?
Look, I don't think the alternative to Tyrod Taylor is that good to begin with, right? I get it. Like, I understand the argument to put him in last Sunday, and he probably would have played. I know he would have played better than Justin Fields was playing in that game, but it's not like there's a future here. Like, it's not like going from Russell Wilson to Jackson Dart, right? That's something you're like, okay, this guy's the future. Let's see it. Right. They don't have that. But I think the alternative isn't great. I do think he believes in the guy, like, a lot. Like, it's crazy to me that he walked in the door and was guaranteed the starting job. Like, I almost fell over in March when he said that, because everything about Aaron Glenn has been like, you got to earn it. And, and like, even last week I asked him, like, are you going to make changes on defense? You know, like, after that game, are you going to make some personnel changes? And he said, everyone has to earn their keep. But it seems like everyone but Justin Fields has to earn their keep. So it's a weird thing. He's really fiercely loyal. I think, you know, he said yesterday, like, he doesn't want to look it over his shoulder. But I don't know. Like, that's part of the NFL, man. Right. Like, it's a very strange thing to me that he's this kind of defiant when it comes to one player.
And Brian, isn't it becoming, at least, and again, we're from afar. I've not been in the Jets locker room. I'm not around them like I am the Giants, so I don't really have a feel on this. But I do know that once you start to get these, well, this guy is better. Man, Tyrod gives us a better chance to win. Once you get that, just a little sliver of a division, it really starts to divide the locker room. And then you talk about how hard it is to win in the NFL. It becomes impossible to win at that point, because every decision gets second-guessed. And I know you mentioned this earlier about what kind of leaders in that locker room can step up and in this case, squash that. Who does that?
Yeah, no one. Yeah, they don't have that in this locker room. You know, and like, you know, C.J. Mosley was that guy for the last few years. He's gone, so they do not have that. And yeah, I think this week's a big week for Justin Fields in terms of that. Like, I think if he goes out and he can play decently against the Panthers, and they desperately need a win, they get a win, he calms the waters. If he goes out and has another performance like he did Sunday against the Broncos, forget it. I mean, like, Glenn has to go to Tyrod at some point in that game, or then we're talking about losing the locker room.
If he pulled Justin Fields in the middle of next week against Carolina, or Sunday against Carolina, because it's that bad, would you walk into the media room and kind of drop the mic on his ass and be like, oh, yeah, I thought it was a dumbass question. Now, what do you say?
No, I would not, Evan. I would not. And look, to me, I think part of the thing is he has to learn with the media, like, just because I ask a question doesn't mean I'm saying you did the wrong thing. Like, even if I'm asking, why'd you punt on that fourth down? Like I think he takes it as we're, like, saying you were wrong. I'm curious in the decision-making stuff, and I'm trying to ask questions I think I'm curious about, and you're curious about, and everybody watching the games is curious about. So, you know, his reaction, he'll learn over time. He'll get better at it. It's a tough situation. I mean, Tiki, you lived it.
Yeah, of course.
You walk off the field. Like, I feel for these guys sometimes. They're still in the heat of battle. You can see it in their eyes sometimes when they're coming there, and then we have to hit them with these questions.
Right.
At 0-6, it's like it's not fun sometimes to answer these questions. So I get them. I cut them some slack in the post game.
Right. I remember these days. Like, it's hard to take your criticism as something that could potentially make you better. Right. And I always say this to Sean and these guys, your critics are your friends, right? They show you your faults type of thing. It's an old famous Benjamin Franklin quote, but it's hard when you're losing, right? It's easy when things are going well and it's just like a small critique. But when it's like the overarching story about your team, it feels like it's all your fault, even though that's not even what's being told to you or criticized with you about. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, it's tough. And I think, you know, I go to this with Aaron Glenn. Like, think about who he is. Mm-hmm. Think about what made him. He was a cornerback in the NFL for 15 years. Like, you don't play that position unless you are super confident.
Right.
Like, I tell people all the time, like, you have no idea the confidence level it takes to be a professional athlete. Like, just to get there. And not even the elite guys. Everybody. They're all, you have to have this amazing self-belief to go all the way to that level. And then to be a Pro Bowl player like he was and play that long. And I feel like that position too, like, you got to forget about it when 100%. You make a mistake and bounce back. That's who he is. So him, like, I think, you know, there's he's like the arrogance or whatever you want to call it. that's him, man. And like, that's why he's gotten to where he is. So I don't think he's going to back off of that. But I understand that. Just doesn't look good right now at 0-6. So yeah. I think sometimes in the press conferences, maybe he needs to dial it back a little bit, but he also has to be himself. You don't want to be Eric Mangini and trying to be somebody you're not at that podium.
I don't feel like, Brian, that he's a potential one-and-done guy. People want to keep saying it and speculating about that, but I don't get that sense. Do you?
No, I don't. I think, like, look, the disasters are on the table right now. 0-17 is still on the table. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to win games. But, like, that's the only way I see it happening is, like, at 0-17, 1-16. But he's being paid a lot of money.
Right.
This coaching cycle, the salaries jumped quite a bit. And so I don't know if Woody Johnson's going to want to eat 4 years of that money and also the whole coaching staff. So, like, start there. Like, there's a financial component of this. But I also think they know, like, this changing the whole culture and all that stuff wasn't going to happen overnight. I do think Woody is like a lot of fans, though. I think he's probably annoyed at the product he's seeing each week on the field. It's got to get better. There's got to be progress here at some point that's visible and tangible, and it results in wins. But I do not think he'll be one and done.
Well, that's the key. Like, I don't think anybody wants him to be one and done. I don't want the Jets to fire their head coach, especially a guy who is a tremendous player for the franchise who wants to be here. Like, the idea of firing him after 1 year makes me sick to my stomach. But, like, to your point, there needs to be progress. Like, this can't be an incompetent mess for 17 weeks, and you can't be allowed the joystick of picking your franchise quarterback in all likelihood with the number 1 overall pick for a group that didn't prove anything. And so that's where I kind of battle with myself internally. Of course I don't want him to be one and done, but there needs to be a level of competence shown over the next 14 weeks.
Yeah, there needs to be progress shown for sure. And I think to your point, like about the number 1 pick, like, because people have started asking me, like, do you trust them to make the number 1 pick? I don't think that's the right question right now. I think the right question is, like, if you're Woody Johnson, do you envision Aaron Glenn being the head coach of your team in 3 years, right? Because we saw this with the Tennessee now, fires Brian Callahan after drafting Cam Ward. You saw it in Chicago. You saw it in Carolina. You saw it in Jacksonville where these guys got fired after taking a quarterback. So to me, it's not necessarily they got the quarterback picks wrong, but like you have to have confidence that this is the guy. Aaron Glenn is going to be your guy, and he's going to be here for a few years. Where if you do have the number 1 pick, or even top 5, and you're taking a quarterback, so I think that's where Woody Johnson has to get to by the end of the year, is confident that this guy is going to be here for a few years, and you have belief in him.
The vibe I've gotten from Woody over the years is that when he hires people, he lets them do their thing for a few years. And then once they stop winning, they don't win, forget stop winning, they just never win, then he gets involved. Do you see him being involved right now with what's going on because it's so bad, or is he still letting these guys kind of do what they want in year 1?
I think he's letting these guys do what they want. I'm sure they're getting feedback, about what's going on. But in terms of like, hey, bench this guy, or I want this guy, or trade for this guy, I don't think he's doing that right now.
Yeah.
I think he's letting them do their thing. And it's kind of weird, Evan, too. It's like he hasn't, there was a period where he wasn't around. So like the Todd Bowles era, he was there for 2 years and then he was gone. So that was Christopher Johnson. He wasn't here for all of Gase. Then they hire Saleh and he comes back. So Saleh was like never his guy. So like he didn't really like Saleh. And so that was always weird. So this is like the first time it's been like his coach, and he's going to be here since Rex, really. Wow. And so it's kind of a different feel. And I also, like, you can't discount when these guys get older. Like, the sands of time are going. Like, I think his urgency is going up, right? Like, he's going to be an older guy, and I'm sure his patience is wearing thin. And, like, so I do think at some point, if there's not results, that he's probably going to inject himself a little bit further into the operation.
Brian, you know this because you've seen it many times over the years for a lot of different teams, including our locals. Sometimes you got to strip down your team, right? When you get a new coach and you got to get the right players in. I know Tom did this over a couple of years. Eventually, it obviously led to them winning a Super Bowl and getting the players that he wanted, his style of guy. I know we hit this briefly earlier about the trades and who could go and how could they make their team better. Do you see this being an active trade period for this Jets team? And if so, who's likely out?
Yeah, I struggle with that, Tiki, right? Because I do think their wins are important this season for what we talked about, just enforcing his message and showing the way. And if you start trading Breece Hall, or you start trading, I mean, Quinn and Williams, I've seen people speculate on. Like, these are the heart and soul of the team. And you're waving the right white flag to your locker room.
Right.
You're just saying this year doesn't matter. And I think that's a tough message to send. I don't think this is a team that needs to strip it all the way down. I think they've got some good pieces here. I think they need to build up around those pieces. So to me, I would not be overly active at this trade deadline. And I also don't think you're getting – I don't know how much value you're going to get.
Yeah.
Quinnen would bring a good return. I don't think Breece Hall going into a free agency is going to get you a good return. So I struggle with it. I do not know. Like, the part I don't know is, where are they on Breece Hall? Are they thinking, like, we're going to let this guy walk after the season? Are they thinking we're going to franchise tag him? Are they thinking we're going to sign him? Like, that's a big factor, right? If they're going to just let him walk, then yeah, like, then you take what you can get for him. But, man, that's a tough message to send to the locker room if you still believe you can win games this season.
Well, if it's a veteran player, not that anyone is falling all over themselves to trade for Alan Lazard, but if it's a guy like that, sure, why the hell not? But when you're talking about the guys that are going to help you win next year, because eventually they got to win.
Yeah.
Like, they can't just suck for the next 3 years, and it's no big deal.
Right, and Breece Hall is one of your best players right now.
Yeah, so if you start removing, you mentioned Quinn Williams, even Jermaine Johnson, I mean, what a difference he made to that pass rush coming back.
Yeah.
You start stripping these guys away. Forget this year, as bad as that is. This year's already gone to hell. But what about next year? It's a tough thing to pull off if you're Muji and Glenn.
It is, and if you are thinking, hey, we're going to draft a quarterback in the first round next year, you need a team around that guy. Like, we've seen this too many times, right? With the Jets alone, never mind across the NFL, where was Sam Darnold the wrong pick, or was he just drafted to the wrong place?
That last part. Yeah. He was drafted to with the wrong coach, except with no talent around him. Imagine if he had this talent
around him. Yeah,
I always say that. It only matters what the situation is like that a rookie quarterback comes into.
Yeah, so like if you're stripping down, going, oh, we're going to draft picks, then we're going to take a quarterback. Like, no, like that's not going to work. You're going to repeat the mistakes of the past. So to me, I'm holding on to those core players. Breece Hall is a little tricky, like I said. He's a free agent. You got to figure out what you're going to do there. But yeah, if someone wants to take Alan Lazard, I think the Jets would drive him to the airport. But that's a little different story.
So many years ago, Joe asked you a question that elicited a response that became a GIF. It was Joe screaming, "Ah!" And the question is something I want to ask you again. He asked you, will Adam Gase be the head coach 3 years from now? And you were very honest, and you were correct by saying no. And, of course, it caused the Joe freakout. So I'm going to ask you on October 14th, 2025, when we're sitting here in 3 years, in 2028, is Aaron Glenn still going to be the head coach of the New York Jets?
And I'm going to answer it the same way. No, because these people don't last here.
There you go.
They don't last. And like the evidence, I think Joe probably asked me around this time with Adam Gase too, and it was like 1-6 or 1-7 or something like that. It's just, it's hard to see a reason why he's going to be here in 3 years.
Great. Wonderful time to be alive, Brian. Well, keep it up. Keep covering the team as best you can. It's the most thankless job in America.
Thank you, Brian.
But we appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, man. Brian Costello of the New York Post. Yeah.